As this will be put out on Show Off Sunday, I have something to show off. My book is going very well. I was actually so amazed that I'm still writing it, that I'm still able to write it. So it's good. Things are changing. Mammoth changes are coming my way. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of what's going on in the book now. We're almost on 12,000 words. And what I am learning, as I am usually somebody who does something very fast, a book is a marathon, not a sprint. It just occurred to me really how long a book can be. The book that I'm writing, it's kind of a book for a series called Love Inspired, and they needed to be 55 to 60,000 words. I hope they're going to like it. I hope they're going to publish it. But it's just amazing to write it for myself because I'm sort of charting my evolution and my growth, and I really feel that I'm healing as I'm watching the characters change and grow together. It's very cool. So I wanted you to know that that's what's going on for me right now. Maybe a quarter of the way through the book, we'll see, but it's taken on this wonderful life of its own, and I want to see what happens to Bronwyn and to Bob and what their journey will be about. So on that note, I wanted to share a little bit with you. We've moved on a little bit now. It's kind of the next day, later on the next day, and she's okay. She's fine. She's found a place to stay, and she's actually gone out with Bob, and they're walking his dog, Tempeh, right now, and she's going to talk a little bit about her life, and then they might go have supper together. So that's what's going to happen. They weren't married? No, they were barely even going out. My mother wasn't a well woman much of the time. She struggled with mental health and sickness. My grandparents tried to help me, but she was a jealous woman, and because she thought I loved my grandparents more than her, she wouldn't let me see them much. But when I did, I loved it. When I was 8, she married a man who was probably more of a mess than she was. He would be mean. Usually to her, but sometimes to me, and he was a drunk. He didn't like my brilliance, so he went to amazing lengths to belittle me and make me feel bad. My father was a successful man, but my mother was so mad when he left her, she took it out on me. It was a challenging way to grow up. Bob stopped her. They reached the open area, and he let Tempeh off the leash. He looked at her, then he pulled her into a deep hug. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Well, yeah. Her voice trailed off. She didn't know what to do. This man was so kind and decent. She didn't know what to make of it, and she always kept it together. Always. But she was having problems doing that. She felt like she was going to cry, but she struggled against the tears. Just having someone listen was amazing. She tried counseling a bit, but she wasn't ever able to find the right fit. She wondered if she just attracted bad people. Even the counselors were demanding at times. Why wouldn't they be? She knew more than they did. But she didn't like having to pay for the privilege. So counseling was out as well. She seemed to have a propensity to attract phonies, but this man was different. It was like he was made of authenticity. She felt like she would be okay if she could just stay in his embrace always and never have to leave. Never have to cope with the world again. But it was a pipe dream. They sat down at the bench and watched Tempeh run around. He saw a monarch butterfly and began to chase it, but then his attention moved and he ran away after a scent only he could smell. Do you still speak with your mom? Bob asked, looking at her. Yes, sometimes. She's older now and she needs me to help her with errands and the like, but I'm pretty busy, so I usually don't spend much time with her. I guess I feel a little sorry for her as well. Well, no wonder you feel traumatized. I don't know what I would have done without my mom and dad helping me. He was a great man, my dad. Tried to be just like him. I was just little when they took me in. My life would be very different without them. You were adopted? I didn't know. Yes, well, not many people know. But I wanted to tell you. I wanted you to know that you could believe in me. That even though I was little, I know a bit of what it's like to be alone. Okay, Bob. She put her hand on his hand and sat with him. contented. Now just try it. You might like it, Bob said as he held the wooden spoon to her mouth. She tasted the creamy sauce and was surprised at how the flavor burst in her mouth. Hey, this is really good, she said, smiling. Well, we aim to please, ma'am. Both of them were laughing at the cliched line. They were having pork chops with cream gravy, stuffing, and cauliflower, some of her favorite foods. But she didn't know the man could cook. When he said come over for supper, she thought he meant a pizza or hot wings he could just pop in the oven. No, he made them an entire meal. They enjoyed it with some sparkling juice. After that, he insisted she watched a movie with him. He didn't get much company, and she decided she would. She was leaving the next day. She thought he would put on an action movie, something with Furious in the title. But no, he asked her if she wanted to watch a documentary about William Shakespeare. She heartily agreed, and the amazing thing was it was one she hadn't already seen. She thought she'd seen all the Shakespeare documentaries ever made. This man continued to impress her. Later, as they were watching the documentary, Bob mentioned, "What do you think about that, Bronwyn? They were saying he didn't even write his own plays." But when he looked over, he saw she was asleep. She should have rested earlier, he thought. Stress can really take it out of you. But she looked so comfortable, he didn't want to move her. It was already quite late, and Tempeh was sleeping right beside her. They seemed like they liked each other, Tempeh and Bronwyn. It was as if Tempeh knew that Bronwyn needed help and stayed by her this evening. Bob made a snap decision. He would let Bronwyn sleep on the sofa tonight. He wouldn't wake her. He was going to put on a light blanket on her in case she got cold, but she woke up while he was doing it. She was startled. She didn't know right away where she was. "What?" she said with panic in her eyes. "What's going on?" With a gentleness he would show a frightened gelding, he spoke with her. "Hey, Bronwyn, it's okay." "Ain't nothing wild going on here. You're safe." He put a hand on her hair and stroked it. She pushed his hand away roughly. He didn't know what he'd done. He looked at her. "Bronwyn." She seemed to see him then. "Bob?" "Yes," he said, smiling. "Everything's all right. You just fell asleep. And I wanted you to be comfortable, so I was putting a blanket on you." "Oh, okay," she said, barely above a whisper. He cupped her petite face in his hands and looked with kind eyes at her. She was like a deer in headlights, mesmerized by his gaze. She could barely move. "It's okay. Everything's good." He continued to look at her. He couldn't believe that anybody could be mean to this precious person. It made him mad. "You almost scared Tempeh when you woke up," he said with an attempt at levity. "I mean, we can't have that, can we?" she said, laughing through her tears. She didn't even know she was crying. He wiped away one of them. "Why don't you stay here tonight? Just on the sofa. I promise. I'm nothing if not a gentleman. Besides, my mom would skin me alive if she knew I didn't help a woman who needed it. And Tempeh really likes you already. You would be keeping him company. Then we can get an early start on driving you back home tomorrow, okay?" "Thank you, Bob." "What did I say about the thank yous?" he said with a look of mischief in his eyes and a smile. He said good night and kissed her forehead. Then he left her to her own thoughts and the wonderful rhythmic breathing of the dog laying beside her. So I think it's okay, but I don't know, right? So anyway, this is my idea. This is my installment of Show Off Sunday. I just want to wish everybody the most wonderful Labor Day weekend. And please think wonderful things for me, because I'm not actually sure where I'm going to be on Tuesday. I know I will be somewhere, but I don't know where I'll be. So think good things. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.